Welcome class to today's lesson around positions and interests and the basis for improving communication with other individuals. The first key in understanding the difference between positions and interests is understanding really what they are. And think about this, looking at this first diagram here, when we talk more in a positional mode or around positions, it's about you and the other individual trying to force one another to come to the resolution that makes the most sense to you. Many times these are rooted in our deep values and our beliefs, and it's difficult for us to see beyond that point. This is where the concept of interest-based approach comes in. This is where individuals take the problem and basically put it outside the circle of their emotions that they're having at that moment, and they look at the problem as an outside piece, something that they collaboratively work on to come to a resolution. As with any type of problem solving or type of conflict or bargaining or negotiation that we may be having with other individuals, this concept of positions and interests is important if we want to get from our current state where we are right now, what's occurring and what's happening, to the desired state, where things would be most optimal for all of us if we were able to come to a resolution or an understanding or an agreement. Let's take a few minutes and look at the characteristics behind positions, and then we'll look at interest to get a better understanding of what these terminologies actually mean. When we think of positions, they are the whats in the world, the WHATs, what people stand for, what people believe in, what they fight for. These are the things that are deep-rooted in our values and our beliefs, and they're very difficult to get individuals to move from. So when individuals are communicating with other people, it's important for them to remember that when someone has a position or they're coming across with a strong point or presence about something, that's likely what their position is that the likelihood of moving them from that is going to be difficult unless we understand the reasons behind it, which will be our interest. In such, this is why interests are important, and we call these interests the whys, the WHYs. Why people feel strongly about something, why they stand for it, why it's motivating them to react or respond the way they are. And you see, the understanding is that the more we understand why people feel, react, or respond to things in a certain way, the more likelihood we have as individuals in a conflict or in a discussion with those individuals, or even a problem-solving session, to be able to come to a solution or something that would work for both individuals more likely. Why? Well, because if we have a good understanding of what our position and our interests underlying our position is, and we understand another individual's position and what their interests are, all you really need to do is find ways to align your interest. These are the deep-rooted reasons behind the overall position that is forcing you to respond in the way that you are. And if we can align those things, what we have is a better chance of getting individuals to the same place. Let me give you an example here to show that even at the most extreme positions, that interests do have always a commonality somewhere if you think deep enough. So we look at people that are pro-life, and then we look at individuals that are pro-choice. You would probably all agree there are extreme differences in extreme sides. Well, these are their positions, what they believe in. Now, the reasons why, well, there is a deep-rooted interest that is common among both of those, and both of those have a strong passion and belief in what they stand for. This is a starting block of communication among individuals. So let me further discuss and share one thing so you really understand, make sure you do, the difference between positions and interest. I'm sure many of you at some point in your life have seen a kid having a temper tantrum in the store. When the child has been having that temper tantrum, the parent asks the child, well, what's wrong? And the child says, I want such and such toy. That's the child's position, that they want that toy. And then the skillful parent will ask the child, well, why do you want that toy? Or what would having that toy do for you? And the child says, well, I want the toy because it's on Saturday TV cartoons. It's the coolest thing out. All the kids in my class have it. If I have it, I'll be cool too. So all of these reasons for actually wanting the toy are the interests that underline the position. Now, there is a skill that was developed at Harvard called chunking. And what chunking is it works two ways. You can chunk down or you can chunk up. Chunking down is moving from more of a general concept to the specifics. And then chunking up is moving more from specifics to a general concept. And what chunking is actually is, it's a term for computer data of taking large bits of information and breaking them into a more centralized idea or concept, or when you have one centralized idea and you need more options, it's breaking it down into numerous options is where the term comes from. I like the term because it's an easy term to remember, chunking. And what you can do to help pull out the interest among individuals or to problem solve better with individuals, you can utilize this skill to achieve this. This skill is such a powerful skill and easy skill to apply because basically all you're doing is asking questions. You see, this is the key to pulling interest out, is communicating and getting an understanding of why individuals feel and are acting or responding in the way that they are. So some types of chunking questions you can use to chunk up, which is using to identify more of those interests, may be, what would having this do for you? How is that good for you? How is that useful? Some of the chunking down type questions you may ask in problem solving to evaluate options with people would be, what is a good way of doing that? How could you be satisfied if you do it that way? What do you mean specifically? These types of questions force the individual to come up with options, and in the meantime, when they're coming up with these options, they're giving you more data and information to bounce against your interests to see if there's a commonality that you can start to use as a building block between you and that individual, or groups of individuals per se. Well, hopefully you have a better understanding now of positions and interest and the importance behind understanding the position, but more importantly, uncovering and using the interest for improving communication. Remember, though, it's very important that you first understand your own position and your underlying interest in any given situation before you try to respond to another individual. Because just as it's easy for that individual to gravitate back to their positions versus move into their interest, it is for you also. Your emotional impulses will instantly want to push you back to the position where we dig our feet into the ground and we say it's this way or the highway. The interests are the only things that will allow us to look for commonalities and find those commonalities without much effort, as they'll pop out the more we try to understand ourselves and others.